Today what we are going to discuss about is Romeo and Juliet. Uh, these names are very familiar to all of us, and also the person who's written this play, the Shakespeare, is well-known poet in English literature. Of many centuries have come, but still people remember him because he remains one of the most famous poet and dramatist, playwright of his time and even now. Now, this was a play, and we do not have entire play. What we have is just extracts from the play. So we have extracted two stanzas where Romeo and Juliet express their love for each other, and the kind of intensity which they show through these words and this stanza is what we are going to study for now. Okay, for that I'll just quickly take you through about the writer, the poet. As we know, Shakespeare, it's not a very uncommon name. So we'll know about him. Shakespeare, he lived in a 16th century, during 16th century. He has written number of plays and sonnets, and also his work has been translated to almost all the languages in the world. Today it has inspired inspired so many documentaries, movies throughout the world, and they have been so successful. So to talk about him quickly, is an English poet and a playwright, widely regarded as the greatest writer in English language. Even today it stands true. Many have come and they always compare their work with the benchmark of Shakespeare. So that is the benchmark that he has set all these centuries. Okay, today you might call some of the writers as a modern Shakespeare. So that is how you call that. So he is often called England's national poet, like we also have a national poet. And the Bard of Avon. Bard of Avon means is the greatest poet of all time. His plays have been translated into every major living language and are performed more often than those of any other playwright. So this is very important. His plays have been performed they have been more popular and performed more number of days compared to any other plays. This is about Shakespeare, and we have been studying all these years. So that is about Shakespeare. Now quickly we'll take you back little bit background of this story, Romeo and Juliet. And one more thing I want to mention is tragedies are more popular and famous than the comedies that he has written. So this is one of the greatest tragedy ever written by Shakespeare. It has become so famous, and also the moment we know Romeo and Juliet, we always they stand a testimony for love. And today we always, any love affair, we always try to compare with Romeo and Juliet. So that is the kind of impact his plays have made in the world and amongst all the audience, irrespective of language and geographical location and anything. All right, so to talk about little bit about the background, there were in a place called Verona, which is in Italy, there were two noble families. One is Capulet and Montague, and these two lovers belong to these two families, and they are rival family. Where there is lot of hostility, lot of hatred amongst themselves. But unfortunately, these two people belong to two different families in Verona. They used to hate so much. There is an instant, I remember reading this play where they keep fighting from that group, this group always keep fighting on the road. That is in fact how the play starts, where two people from different families just start fighting. That's how it starts. There is always too much of crime and hostility, hatred towards these two families. Okay, so Romeo and Juliet belong to rival family. Old Lord Capulet hosted a grand supper. Supper is like a evening meet. Lord Capulet is a father of Juliet. He hosted this party. Though Romeo belonged to family as Montague, he attended a supper in disguise to reach Rosalind. So here what happens is Romeo is actually in love with Rosalind. In fact, maybe he thinks that he is in love, but in fact it is infatuation that he later realizes. So he goes to that supper in disguise. because nobody should identify him, because if they identify, then he will be in trouble. So what he does is he disguises himself and goes to that place to see Rosalind. Rosalind is also belonging to the Capulet family. He goes there. There he sees Juliet on the dance floor and is fascinated by her beauty. So the moment he sees her, he gets so attracted, so fascinated that he forgets Rosalind. After the dance, he learns that she is the daughter of Lord Capulet. She feels attracted to the man from the enemy family. The following verses express their implicit feeling for one another. So why implicit? Because it's not directly expressed, but through a lot of symbolism, imagery, metaphor. That's how it is explained. That's why it is very important. That's what we're going to talk about it. So these are the verses I've taken from this play. So let's see how in a first stanza we see how Romeo expresses his strong love for her. And also in the second stanza we see how Juliet expresses her love for him using different imagery. But also one more thing, they use contrasting imagery. Contrasting means two opposite terms they use to express their love and intensities. So that's how we're going to see how they express it. And also one more thing, it is not Romeo who feels attracted to Juliet, it's also Juliet in turn also feels so attracted to looking at this so handsome man. All right. Now let's see how Romeo expresses his love. Now he says, and here it is used Old English, so don't be confused with some of the words. Oh, she doth teach the torches to burn bright. So here doth is does. So what is the first line is telling? So there is a lot of light, dark, white, black. So these are the imageries they have used, Shakespeare has used so powerfully to convey their emotions, okay. Oh, she doth teach the torches to burn bright. That means she is so fair, so white that even for the torch, the brightness of the torch, she teaches the torch to burn bright because she is brighter than the torch. It means he is comparing her to the brightest object on the earth, on the world. Maybe it's the sun, because that's why she can teach the torch how to burn brighter. It means she's so fair. That's how Romeo identifies and sees her beauty. She's so beautiful. It seems she hangs upon the cheek of a knight as a rich jewel in Ethiop's ear. Here Ethiop's is an African woman. She's a queen. Now you see African women, they're so dark, right? Imagine a glittering, a very scintillating jewel is hanging on their cheek. How excellent it looks, how it stands out, its color. So that's what he's telling. So what she is telling, amongst all the other people with whom he is comparing, they are dark, she is the one who's like a rich jewel, like Ethiop's ear. When a black woman, an African black woman wears such a beautiful jewel, how the jewel stands out and how beautiful it looks. That's how Juliet is amongst all the other people and the whole atmosphere. He comparing her to Ethiop's ear, that black queen, and where she is the diamond, that rich jewel. Actually this Ethiop's ear, that queen, it's a story where this jewel is very expensive. Her here, beauty too rich for use, for earth too dear. What he's telling is Juliet's beauty is too much for earth. Earth does not deserve her. She should be in somewhere divine place, but fortunately she is born in earth, and earth should be very grateful and very grateful for carrying her, because she is so beautiful, is what he's saying. So shows a snowy dove trooping with crows, as yonder lady o'er her fellow shows. So the people who are around her in the party, those who are dancing, including Rosalind, he compares them to the crows, and she is a snowy dove. And dove is also very symbolically used, because dove is a symbol of purity, love, peace. So that's how he compares Juliet to snowy dove, and she is amongst the crows. Can you see this? Crows. It means other people. So what is the imagery we get about crow? Crow come in the bad woman. It's not a great color. So he is comparing, when you compare other people in the room, she is like a snowy dove amongst the crowd. So that is the contrasting imagery, how he is using dark and white. Yeah. The measure is done. The measure is done means the dance is over. In the supper, the event. I will watch her place of stand. It means once the dance, everything is over. So she goes back to her room. There is a balcony where she comes out in the balcony. I will watch her from there. When she comes to that stand, I will watch her from there. And touching hers, make blessed my rude hand. What he says is, though he is also considered one of the most handsome person during that time, he says, my hands compared to hers is so rude. By touching hers, my hands will be blessed. That is how beautifully he expresses through such a powerful imagery. He says, by just touching her, I will make my hand blessed. He says, and he considers himself, his hands are rude compared to hers. And he also asks this, did my heart love till now? Then he realizes the love that he thought he had for Rosalind, why he went to see her, that was not love. Now he experiences the true love. He says, oh, did my heart ever love so far? No, it's now. For swear it, sight, I never saw the true beauty till this night. He says, now after saying this, I had never seen this beauty before now. This is the first time. This is so beautiful that she looks, such beauty I have never seen before. That's how Romeo expresses and puts across his emotion so powerfully through this imagery. And also you should take notice how Shakespeare uses such imageries and powerfully conveys these feelings. You know, it's not easy, like snowy dove, crow, Ethiop's ear, the jewel, all that. Look at the words that he uses. He makes his rude hand blessed by just touching her. Can you see how powerful those emotions, that feeling that he is expressing? So that is about Romeo expressing. Now moving on. Now we'll see how Juliet also uses a different imagery to express her love. Now if you've seen how Romeo glorified brightness, light over darkness, but here in Juliet she does quite opposite. On the contrary, she does quite different than what Romeo does. She doesn't actually glorify white, but she glorifies night, dark. We'll see how she does that. Okay, now Juliet says, she's saying, okay, let me tell you, this doesn't happen like on regular events. After Romeo expresses, this is a monologue of Romeo in the event, that he is not explicitly expressing his feelings aloud. It's just a monologue. He's talking to himself. All this, it was going on in his mind. But after this, by the time we come to this stanza, there is a lot of things have happened in the play. By now they also have got married, but it's a secret marriage, what you call celestial marriage. It happened. All right. Now she waits for him every night, so that she wants to come, because he cannot come during day. So she's in love with night. Now let us see how she glorifies night and dark, unlike what Romeo does. Okay, let's see. Now it says, come night, come Romeo, come thou day in night. She's so lovingly waiting for night, because she knows Romeo cannot come in day, because if he comes in day, there could be a lot of issues, because both are rival families. So he could be like in danger, right? That's why she wants night, so that secretly he could come and meet her. That's what he's telling. And also she is calling him, you are my day in night. So we all know that how we glorify these two binaries, like white over dark, day over night, good over bad. So these are binaries. So now usually the word we glorify day, and always we associate night with all the bad things, right? But she's telling, for me night is good. Your night is like a day, because Romeo is my day and he comes in the night. Yeah, that's what he's telling. For thou wilt lie upon the wings of night, whiter than new snow on a raven's back. For me, You come on a raven's back. Raven is again is signified as a bad woman. Telling you come on the ravens by riding like a whiter than snow. You know how snow is so white. She's calling him whiter than snow, and he comes over the raven's back. Raven's back means you overcome all the hostility, all the bad things, all the hatred. You come and reach me. So that is what this raven's back means. Raven's back means all the bad things that you overcome. You surpass all those things. Come gentle night, come loving black broad night. She's in kind of love with black, the dark, the night, because she knows that is the time Romeo can approach her, Romeo can meet, and they can be together. That is why she loves night. Give me my Romeo, and when I shall die, take him and cut him out in little star. So she is asking the night, night, come soon and bring my Romeo, give me my Romeo. And she also says, when I shall die, when I die, cut Romeo into little star and form a constellation in the sky. So what she's trying to say here, she's trying to immortalize her love. Even it means her love is so eternal, it doesn't end with her death. It even lives even after her death. That's what she's telling. It's like immortalizing her love. And when I shall die, take him and cut him into little star. Take him and cut him into little star, and he will make the face of heaven so fine. He's saying, when you put Romeo into star, the heaven looks more beautiful because of his presence. And you form a constellation with his stars. His face, it makes it look more beautiful. That all the world will be in love with night. Now people will stop with the general belief notion where people love day over night. Now people start loving night more. Why? Because only in night you can see Romeo, that stars. So people love night more after that. So please take him and cut him into little stars and put him in the sky. Also he makes heaven look more beautiful. And pay no worship to the garish sun. So people will stop worshipping day and sun. So they would be in more love with night. Why? Because Romeo is there in the night. So that's how she tries to immortalize and expresses her love for Romeo. So this is how, these are the imageries, similes is used, how raven's back, wings of night, if you cut him into little star, heaven will be in night, garish sun. So these are the words, imagery where Shakespeare uses. So that's why we call him as the famous writer of all time. So beautifully he utilizes these literary devices, these vocabularies to convey these emotions and love so powerfully. So that's all we have for now. Thank you.